Hello everybody and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again today. And today I'm going to do a ship review for Anchorage, which is the new dockyard ship as of patch 0.9.8. Now, before I get started with the actual review, do keep in mind that this ship was provided to me by Wargaming for testing and review purposes. All opinions of the ship are entirely my own and do not reflect the opinions of Wargaming or any of its staff. All right, so let's actually get to the ship. Oh, actually, one more thing before I get to the ship. I hope the audio is okay today. It's been a bit of a headache trying to figure it out. I think I've got it fixed, so let me know what you all think in terms of the audio quality. All right, now onto the ship. Okay, so in a nutshell, what is Anchorage? Anchorage is basically a buffalo hull. So buffalo 27mm plating all over, protection against 380mm shells if angled correctly. You've also got sort of the Buffalo's amount of guns. So you got 12 guns, 203mm USN, which is very, very nice. However, you only have New Orleans shells. So in terms of damage output, this is not going to be as good as what the Buffalo can output. However, Anchorage, like I said, is a tier down. Should I say that? No, she's a tier down. She's a tier 8, not tier 9. She doesn't have a heal. She doesn't have a radar, but she does have a smoke and she has torpedoes. So in some way, she is very similar to the Buffalo in terms of style of play, and in some way, she can do some things that the Buffalo can't, but at the same time, Buffalo can do things that she can, notably that radar. Buffalo has a little bit ways, let's say, by itself to deal with destroyers and things like that, where Anchorage is very reliant on your own team's DDs and even your own team CV. This kind of leads to the natural conclusion that if you want to have really good Anchorage games, it is best to be in a division. So where Buffalo, I'm very comfortable playing by myself because that is a ship I, can do a lot of things by myself and have a lot of utility against things like destroyers and whatever. Anchorage, you need a little bit of help. So one, when your own team's destroyers, let's say, don't play, sort of to help your own team, aka like the way the Kagero's playing. I've had numerous destroyers today for whatever reason. They've all just, beginning the game, decided to go just loop-de-loop around the side of the map, not doing anything near the center. That makes your life really difficult as an Anchorage, okay? But of course, she does still have that very nice firepower, and of course, like all the other USN cruisers, her playstyle is primarily behind islands. So if you can do that, set it properly behind an island, you should be okay, right? I mean, the HE, even though it's New Orleans HE, is still going to set fires, is still going to do HE pen damage. So it's all good there. Playstyle-wise, like I said, is very similar to a lot of the other USN heavy cruisers. The AP also does have the improved auto bounce angles, even though they're not the super heavy shells. I know some people confuse those two. They're like, it doesn't have super heavy. Does that mean it has the improved? Yes, it does. It has the improved auto bounce angles, which means that if you're up against other cruisers or whatever, and they're showing you enough of a side, don't hesitate to go to AP and clobber them. The 12 HE shells, like I said, even though not the Baltimore or Buffalo shells, they can still output really, really good damage. And of course, firing 12 of them means that you're still going to get reasonably decent fire chance. So far you're probably looking at the gameplay and going, yeah, that seems pretty standard USN, heavy cruiser type style play. What's different? Well, the difference really has to do with the fact that Anchorage can generate its own cover. So part of the time you are going to be behind islands for sure, but this ship has the ability to say, hey, you know what? I do need to get into this other position so I can get better shots. But where with other USN cruisers, you really have to think, do I want to move out there and dash another island? Anchorage can say, you know what? I'll pop out a little bit and I will deploy myself a smoke. I've got a defensive hydro to protect myself in case of torpedoes. And then I'm going to be able to fire from within the smoke. However, you are using 203mm guns. So your smoke firing penalty is 8 kilometers. And this is where having a team's destroyer be sort of within your vicinity is usually a really good thing. Because if your destroyer on your team can zone off the other destroyers, then you have a reasonably good chance of being able to stay in your smoke and actually farm away. The problem is games like this, right? Where the Kagero is just like gone off onto like, I don't know what flank. And I've had, like I said, I've had this happen like all day long today for whatever reason. Just like every one of my games, destroyers off on some border, just had destroyers try to go all the way around the map for CV sniping. I don't know what it was, but when those situations happen, Anchorage really begins to suffer a little bit, because if a destroyer comes in and sneaks in and is able to get vision for their team, you have no way to counter spot them, so no radar. As long as they stay outside of your hydro range, which is very easy to do because your hydro is only 5 kilometers, they've got 3 kilometers of distance to spot you in your smoke. So that's not particularly fun. This is why I said Anchorage is going to be very much more suited to playing in a division, right? If I have a CV that I can call in to zone off stuff, I'm going to have a much, much better time. And in this game, this is why I'm using this battle, by the way, because I have a CV. And the combination of me with the smoke and the firepower and then the CV, we're able to roll this game, right? At first, not so much. It looks like we're kind of losing, but partially contributed by that Kagero who... yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that Kagero's thinking. I mean, it's not like he's doing anything productive there, right? Okay. Another thing to highlight, the 27mm plating gives you protection against ships like Pommern, gives you protection against ships like Monarch, Jean Bart, whatever, because you have 27mm plating. So just angle away like I'm going to do here, and there you go. I'm going to be reasonably safe as long as I turn out a little bit more. The torpedoes also give you some ability to play it almost like a little bit like the way that IGN cruisers can be played. As you're kiting away, you're dropping torpedoes into the path of enemy ships. And you could drop it, even though your torpedo is only 10.5 kilometer range, you can drop them and, have the enemy sail into them. So like 12 kilometers away, but they're coming towards you, drop your torpedoes, right? You might surprise them. So that, of course, combined with the fact that your concealment is relatively solid when you're fully spec'd for concealment, gives you opportunities to land torpedo hits. And it's a bit of a surprise, as of the moment at least, for people to suddenly have a torpedo coming out from nowhere, because not a lot of people are used to USN heavy cruisers with torpedoes. Of course, over time, this will be something that people adapt to, and they'll be much, much more wary. But being more wary of your torpedoes, of course, also causes, let's say, certain advantages for you. It allows you to go off the detect and kite away. Just in another battle earlier today, and this is just sort of another kind of a little story, shall we say, to explain some of the weaknesses and strengths of the ship. I was, behind an island, shooting some stuff, but the enemy team had only one destroyer, and our CV, which was not my division mate at the time, decided I'm just going to ignore this destroyer. And of course, this destroyer was given all the freedom to do what he wanted, and he was able to pick me up in my smoke, and I got hit really hard, like 30,000 HP got wiped out by a battleship that I didn't see either, because no vision. And so I was down to like 3,800 HP, and at that time I'd done like 17k damage. And the combination of then moving myself into an area without that destroyer, which was good because the DD didn't come hunt me, because I guess he was assuming 3,800 HP I was going to die. I was able to then use the combination of torpedoes and smokes, and I was able to stall 2 ships for a very long period of time. Ended up farming 140,000 damage that game and actually holding the flank off and then clearing out the entire flank by myself. So that was actually quite awesome. And just goes to kind of show you that the capabilities of the ship, when used correctly, are still quite impressive, right? That smoke torpedo combination makes it so that people really aren't super keen to push you sometimes. And if they are like super keen to push you, then you have pretty reasonable chances of hitting them with torpedoes. Remember, your ship is actually relatively good in terms of concealment as well, and that firepower is still no joke. If you can get sufficient vision, then you just pepper people. As long as you're outside of 8 kilometers or they're outside of 8 kilometers, you're going to be able to do really, really well. The armor piercing of the ship is also useful, notably against cruisers that disrespect you. So cruisers that think that they can show you a broadside, load the AP and go for it. This actually includes even the German heavy cruisers. Yes, they have a turtle back, but the auto bounce angles sometimes have a very interesting sort of interaction with the turtle back, because if your shells come in, at a bit of an angle, even the turtle back sometimes isn't enough to even deflect it, and you can still get citadels. So overall, I just think that Anchorage by itself is a very, very strong package. It's a very, very good ship. And, but the thing is, of course, ideally suited for division play. This is a ship that needs help. It just needs that level of spotting assist. It needs the ability to say, hey, look, there's someone over here. See if you can go find it for me. So in multiple times in this game, I've got my RPF, as you can tell, indicating to me where the nearest ship is. And I'm talking to my carrier and I'm saying, hey, look, my RPF is pointing this direction. You should go this way to look for the destroyer. And destroyers, as you can tell, if they're being hounded like this, they're going to go further and further and further away from you. And by going further and further away from you, it helps because it gives you that ability to say, right, if I need a smoke cover, I'm going to pop it, I'm going to start engaging. Overall, I mean, I like the ship. I had a couple of real stinkers with the ship at the beginning because, yeah, just not a very good solo ship. She's much more capable in divisions, much more capable when you have friends that you can call upon. By herself, Anchorage, she has those weaknesses, and some of those weaknesses are very, very hard to fully mitigate. She's just not as comfortable by herself, let's just say. If an enemy destroyer knows what they're doing, they can ruin your day in ways that not a lot of other things can. Well, radar ships can too, but man, those destroyers, if your team doesn't have a way to deal with them, if they, if your team just runs off, then destroyers are going to have a field day with you. All right, so playstyle wise, very similar to the USN heavies, and this is something I've already mentioned. Really you want to think about it, okay, so sort of mindset wise, you want to think about, okay, initially when I start the game, I'm going to play like a USN heavy. So that's find an island that I can get behind, find a way that I can get all my firepower. So another thing very, very notable with the Anchorage, it's very similar to the Buffalo. You have to try to get all of your guns in on the fight. If you just say, I'm going to point my bow towards them and I'm going to ignore my rear guns, 50% of your firepower only, and that's not enough. You need to get all of your turrets into the fight. So if you can get all of your turrets into the fight, then you have very, very good capabilities of putting out damage. All right, so that's the key thing to keep in mind. So initially, find an island, right? So the USN heavy cruiser playstyle. And then, depending on the situation, you can say, right, do I need to utilize a smoke? Do I need to, go somewhere else that I can get better shots in? And then you make that decision as you go. Also, pay very close attention to enemy battleships. What battleships are a threat to you? If you're running into, let's say, something with 406mm guns, yeah, you got to be really, really wary about those ships. So even a Nagato or or Sinop, those things can ruin your day. But on the other hand, if you run into like Palmer and Jean Bart and you know how to control your distance correctly, you can be a very annoying ship for those battleships to deal with because they can't really hurt you, right? All right, so this battle is almost over now. We've cleared the northern flank. They've got a couple more ships to the south. But again, see that RPF, that capability of saying, hey, it's roughly in this direction. Go take a look, see if he's there. It helps. It helps because it forces the destroyer to keep, running away because you can constantly call in a CV. Another thing that will be useful is having your own destroyer, right? If you have your own destroyer playing in a division with you, and let's say you both have RPF, there's another way to sort of semi-triangulate where an enemy ship might be. So division play is like very essential when you're playing Anchorage. But here I am just gonna spam some HE away at the Monarch. Monarch I'm not really afraid of, again, because of 380mm guns. As long as I stay angled, I should be okay. And only other thing I guess I really have to pay attention to is possibly the position of the Jean Bart and the destroyer. So wherever that destroyer might be is a little bit worrisome. For now, I'm thinking, okay, there's a possibility that this destroyer might, looking at his position here, he looks like he's just going to keep following the Monarch. So in this kind of situation, I'm like, all right, let me take a look. I see the Jean Bart. Looks like the Jean Bart might be coming out from the other side. So I can't fully just chase after this Monarch because if I keep going this direction, I keep trying to get my rear guns into the fight, I'm going to go broadside in front of the Jean Bart, which is not good. So I'm going to try really, really hard to get a smoke here going. There we go. You see me with a smoke here. And I'm going to try to engage the Jean Bart while, inside the smoke. Popping a Hydra. Why? Because I'm not particularly sure what that destroyer might do. Smart destroyer player right now would probably try to turn around, try to provide that vision on me from within my own smoke by getting inside my smoke firing penalty. However, if he does that, because I know which direction he's at, right? Because I have the RPF, I can say to my CV, he's going to be very close within 8 kilometers of me in this direction. And you can see, like, watch what my CV is doing. See, I'm pointing the direction out and I'm like, he's within 8 of me. And so my CV just knows exactly where this enemy destroyer is going to be. And he's able to just zero in on him, right? And this combination between Anchorage and a properly played, let's say, division mate will make the ship very, very useful. Again, she struggles a lot more when you don't have such support. But by able to call that CV in, look at that, the destroyer immediately has to pop smoke. And now I know roughly where he is, right? Like down to a very exact sort of science, and kind of know where the torpedoes might be coming from. So I'm able to kind of push up forward a little bit, try to avoid those torpedoes. There we go. Yeah, and that, of course, ruins the destroyer's capabilities of being able to hit me inside my smoke with his torpedoes. And of course, I'm going to actually pop out of my smoke here because I do want to see if I can get rid of this destroyer. This destroyer has been actually kind of annoying, so I'm going to try to help my CV get rid of him. And of course, if you're a DD, you get caught by an Anchorage. It's not really a fun time either, just because the Anchorage does have capability to output damage. So, all right, we're going to kind of wrap this game up because it's almost done, right? I mean, once this destroyer dies, I'm probably going to farm up a little bit more damage off of maybe the Monarch or whatever. I think it's going to be just the Monarch that's left. Yeah, just Monarch, and then the Alaska I think is going to die soon. Then it's just going to be the destroyer, and that's game. All right. Let's talk about captain builds as well for the Anchorage. Generally speaking, in terms of the captain builds, I'd say you want to start with priority target. That gives you that useful little bit of intelligence at the beginning. You want to go to adrenaline rush on your second slot. Then you probably want to do superintendent. Okay, so superintendent because it gives you the extra charge of smoke, and that will allow you to generate more additional cover for yourself, which could be good in the course of a game. And then you want to get concealment expert. So that's your first 10 points. Okay, once you've got your first 10 points on 14, I would recommend RPF. So again, RPF is a very useful intelligence tool. Having it, and especially like I said, having a division mate that you can relay that information to can be very, very scary. And ideally your division mate's a CV, so you can actually direct them towards like the nearest enemy target. That's really what you want to do. And then once you've gotten that, your next probably 3-point skill, you probably want to get Demolition Expert just for the extra fire chance. Why not? And then with your last 2 points, you can get either like Expert Marksman. You could also offer something like Jack of all trades if you're okay with slower turrets. The turrets aren't particularly fast, so that'll be more of a personal decision. I prefer Expert Marksman just because, you know, when you're kiting away, having that little bit faster, easier to traverse turrets, it's a little bit better sometimes. And that's pretty much it for the Anchorage. She's a very, very strong division ship. Might need a little bit of team play in randoms, which is like one of those good luck, hope your team does things if you're playing solo. But all in all, solid ship, you know, got some of the good USN heavy cruiser characteristics, but at the same time does also have things that make her a little bit unique. Also, by the way, she is not one of those things that a battleship can just YOLO into to obliterate. You know, standard USN heavy cruisers, some PBs can just be like, I'll just be super aggressive, come in here and I'll punch you at close range because there's nothing can stop me. Anchorage, you don't want to do that. Those torpedoes, yeah, they'll ruin your day as well. So that's also a little advantage, right? You can hold a position sometimes and you'd be like, right, come try me, battleship, because I will torpedo you if you do. So that's another one of those little quirks. Anyways, that's all I have to say for the Anchorage. Hope you enjoyed the review. Take care, have yourselves a good one, and I'll talk to all of you again next time.